just record the first session. So I actually looked through the script. It was pretty decent. Okay, so I shall quickly run. Probably we'll have a quick discussion. All right. So part A, with relevant to examples, explain how adverse selection and moral hazard leads to market failure. Right. So yes, a quick question. Okay, what is or rather, where does adverse selection and moral hazard? Okay, where do they belong to under the broad family of which family?
Asymmetric information.
Asymmetric information. What we call under your info failure. Okay, so I think let's look at our book. Okay, if you have a copy of your book, okay, for the viewers out there, okay, this is our guidebook. Okay, and we can access page 49. Right, so some schools they actually broadly categorize these two under info failure. Okay, I'm not sure whether your school does that. Okay, and then they further split them out into asymmetric and imperfect info. So sometimes when they test info failure, then you have to bring examples from each branch like that. Okay, you cannot afford to concentrate only on asymmetric information. So pay attention to question types like this, okay, where they change questions around with info failure. Right, but they already specify asymmetric information. Okay, so they fall under the category of asymmetric information. So let's quickly run through the definitions again. Okay, it refers to a situation where a person has more information than the other, okay, in an economic exchange, and use it to his or her advantage at the expense of the less informed party. So sometimes you also use this word. Okay, it's used very often. It's the O word. Okay, have you encountered the O word?
No.
Opportunistic behavior or opportunists, right? So some of the schools also advocate that. Okay, so for the viewers out there, okay, I would like you to encourage you to take a look at your school notes right after this clip. Okay, check whether they use this O word. Okay, so we are going to break down into adverse selection and moral hazard. Okay, let's look at part A first, okay, before we look at part B. Okay, so what is the key difference between part A and part B? Does anybody know? Strangely, there's a lot of flies in my room, so I'm quite concerned. Adverse selection and moral hazard. What's the key difference between the two? In your own words, not from not a definition, in your own words.
Moral hazard is consumers know more than the producers. Then adverse selection is the other way.
Oh.
No, wait, no. Adverse selection can have both. Yeah.
And what about moral hazard?
Only consumers more than producers.
All right. So if you look at the definition, okay, it did not specify which party. So in theory, okay, it could be both ways. I agree. Adverse selection, it could be both ways. Select buyers more than sellers more than buyers. Okay, it could happen this way. Moral hazard normally, okay, is the buyers having more info than the seller. It could be the other way around. Okay, I'll show you the example later on. Okay, so that is not a very clear distinct separation between the two kinds of asymmetric information. All right, so I want you to focus on this. So I actually highlighted in the book, or the publisher highlighted on my behalf without me knowing. All right, so you can see that, okay, for adverse selection, okay, we are concerned about attribute of a good, okay, or characteristic of a good. So the good sometimes can be a person itself in the labor market. Okay, it's widely used in labor market as well. Okay, as we look at moral hazard, okay, we're looking at a change in behavior. Okay, so this is the key difference between the two. Okay, and later on we also pay attention to the timing. Okay, one of them is before, the other is after. That's not so important. Okay, but this is how you categorize between the two. Okay, so for my students, okay, I'm going to show you where to access okay, the lecture clip for this two. Okay, so you can look at our LMS. Okay, go to J1H2 folder. Alright, lesson 16 and 17. Okay, these two clips are recently shot last year, so they're not too, they're still pretty recent. Yeah, so if you realize that you're struggling for this question, okay, then you probably need to revisit 16 and 17 yourself. Okay, if not, you can join the year 1 classes for a refresher. Right, so I'm not going to spend more time. Today we're not so much into content. Okay, it's more about exam, how to address exam conditioning. Right, so the examples that was used in the extract, okay, or rather in the preamble is consistent, right? Car sellers. Okay, so there are a lot more, okay, but in this case, just so happened there's car sellers. All right, so okay, good. Okay, let's look at how are we going to approach the answer. Okay, I have attached the answer key, but I want you to focus on what I say, not what my answer key says. All right, so I just want to make a quick disclaimer. Right, later on I will be showing you two variations of moral hazard. Right. Okay, the first one is consistent with what we have covered in our standard definition, okay, which is incurring more risk-taking activities. Okay, and the second one, okay, is what we call principal agent problem, or what I call supply-induced demand. I don't know whether your school use that. Okay, in fact there are only selected few schools that use that. If your school use that, please let me know. Then that approach would be applicable for you. Okay, if not, don't use that. Okay, if not, okay, you will do very badly. Okay, does your school use that?
No.
Okay, so I haven't heard of principal agent problem or supply induced demand. Okay, these two.
No.
Okay, yeah. It's my responsibility to educate whoever that's watching this. Okay, because I have a wide variety of students. I need to address to all of them. Right, so there are a few terminologies that we widely use in adverse selection and moral hazard. So just now I pointed out a few, right? Opportunistic behavior, okay, and we have attributes, characteristics, change in behavior, okay, for moral hazard. Okay, so now let's dive in, okay, and look at how we're going to develop each of the points. The points have already been predefined for you, okay, so it's pretty easy to identify. Okay, so if the question actually changes to info failure, okay, so they change this to info failure. Okay, so this will be the harder approach. Okay, you'll be more stringent. You're required 3 points here. Okay, 1 for imperfect info, okay, and 2 for asymmetric info. Okay, if you don't have time, okay, at least 1 from each branch. Okay, which is the left and the right. Okay, don't focus everything on asymmetric info. Alright, so having said that, let's quickly jump into the write-up. Okay, so let's have a quick definition for market failure. Okay, because this is what the question requires, right? Market failure. Right, okay, quick definition for adverse selection. Okay, so this is plug and play from the textbook, okay, or our guidebook. Alright, so here, okay, this is another telltale sign. Okay, so there is unequal information prior to the transaction. Okay, so this is not very important, okay, but if you want to distinguish yourself as a very strong candidate or strong student, then all the more you should consider this. Alright, so moral hazard, you can actually see that, okay, this is where economic agents incur greater risk than normal, okay, and they can assign or shift the cost of incurring the risk to a third party. Okay, so the widely used example is insurance. Okay, always insurance. Always insurance. Yeah, so pay attention. Insurance is an industry that is very prone to adverse selection and moral hazard. Okay, so make sure you study that. Alright, and I also encountered some of the schools, they actually test on insurance specifically. Okay, so when they test you on insurance, okay, if you use a very vague example such as healthcare, okay, there is a good chance that you'll be answering out of point. Okay, so make sure your points are very specific towards insurance. I'm not advocating insurance, okay. I'm not a financial planner, okay. But yes, okay, this is an industry that's widely plagued with this problem. Right, so asymmetric information after the transaction, you realize that the behavioral change only take place after the contract is signed, right? Then you do all sorts of crazy things, right? Overeat, right? And do crazy bungee jumping, that kind of thing. All right, okay, so with that, okay, so this is the optional approach, okay, for I think Victoria JC, only for Victoria JC, VJC only. Okay, they use PA problem or supply induced demand. Okay, so I'm not going to cover this approach. I'm going to skip this entirely. Okay, so my VJ students, you can read this yourself. All right, now let's look at moral hazard. Okay, you see that moral hazard and adverse selection, they lead to a similar outcome. Okay, it will lead to a underproduction of a good. Okay, especially for underproduction of a good and overconsumption as well. Okay, in this case, the example that I'm going to use is insurance. Okay, so I'm going to skip this. Okay, this one is for VJC only. Okay, this is for supply induced demand. Okay, so I'm going to skip. Okay, so now let's focus on whatever that's below here. Alright, so before I go through my example, what example did you use for moral hazard? Or should I show your
Insurance.
Insurance? Okay, so how does moral hazard occurs in insurance market? Maybe you can share with us, with the viewers.
Like I wrote for bicycles, like insurance for bicycles. That the consumer would be able to carelessly use the bicycle if they have insurance, because the cost will be on the producers if there's like a like theft or like defects, that kind.
Right. Okay.
Then yeah.
So how does market failure occurs?
Then I talk a bit about the price thingy, where the firms have to pay more because of people wanting to use the insurance more, so the cost of insurance will be higher, and then the quantity demanded will fall for insurance. Therefore, there'll be an underconsumption of insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right. So what you can better strengthen is, okay, what is insurance for? Right. Insurance, it is to protect you from adversity, right? Okay. So in the case of a loss of a bicycle, this is something that you want to be you want to be insured, or you want to manage your risk on that. Right, so it's a lot about risk management. You want to emphasize on that. It's to protect you from any form of adversity. Right, okay, good. So you the keywords that you want to be concerned about is excessive risk behavior. Okay, so you want to talk about, okay, what happens when you have established in your case is cycling, right, or bicycle. So once, okay, your bike is properly insured, okay, then it will encourage, okay, reckless behavior, okay, or what we call opportunist activities. Okay, knowing that, okay, in this case skydiving, the example that is skydiving, right? So this will, you realize that since skydiving, okay, and you're covered by insurance, okay, all accidents related to insurance will be actively covered. Okay, so this will encourage more risk-seeking behavior, right? And the insuree will shift and assign the higher health cost to the insurer, and should any accident arise. All right, so another keyword that you want to emphasize, okay, is this. Okay, so this is widely used in adverse selection or moral hazard. Okay, missing market. Okay, I believe all of you have heard of this term before, right? So how does the missing market comes into the picture? Why it becomes so dark suddenly? Sorry, my lighting no good. Yeah. So we want to talk about, okay, what happens when everyone files for a claim, right? When everyone files for a claim, okay, you realize that this is going to drive up your claims, right? Okay, and from the perspective of a producer, what happens when everyone files for the claim? Okay, it's going to be unprofitable. Okay, and what happens when it becomes unprofitable? okay, then maybe they will choose to withdraw from the market, or they will, like what you say, raise the premium, okay, such that, okay, with higher premium, okay, this will cause insurance to be more costly. Okay, but more importantly is the missing market. Okay, I believe you heard of this term before, right? Missing market, okay, or zero provision. Okay, so pay attention to the word, are very, very important. Okay, opportunist behavior. Okay, so pretty good. Now let's move on to adverse selection. So what is the example that you use for adverse selection?
Used car market.
All right. So maybe you want to quickly narrate how does used car market leads to adverse selection in used car market leads to market failure.
Used car owners would have more information regarding the condition of the used cars than the consumers. So the sellers would conceal the condition of the cars, and based on like prior knowledge to the used cars, consumers would like lower their price that they are gonna pay for the car, because they will assume that most of it is low quality cars. So then there will be a missing market of higher quality cars, because sellers of higher quality cars would not want consumers to pay with these like lower money,
All right.
lower price.
Right. I don't know whether you guys have a Carousel account, or do you all deal in Carousel? Do you do that? Do you have a Carousel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you what's the term that you widely use? That how should I put it? Right. I think there is this term. Okay, is used only among us, right? Singaporeans, or what we call low balling, right? Right, so please don't use this term, okay, but this term is actually very widely encompass the entire meaning of good quality sellers. They're not going to accept a low price. Why? Okay, because of insult of a character. Low balling, right? So you also don't want to be low ball. Okay, so what do you do when you're offered a low ball offer? Okay, you normally just block the buyer, right? That's what I normally do, yeah. Okay, but anyway, okay, let's come back here. Okay, please don't use low balling, but it's a good concept to start understanding how does adverse selection happen. So I concur with what you mentioned. All right, so just want to emphasize on a few things. Number one is the context of the example. Okay, so like just now, what the student has shared. Okay, so the second-hand car market is widely plagued with this problem. Okay, so you want to differentiate between buyers and sellers. Okay, the car dealers or the producers, they have more information, okay, about the knowledge of the car state, okay, hidden defects that the consumer is unaware of. Okay, so notice that I bolded all the keywords. Okay, you see that? Okay, it is the car dealer's self-interest, okay, to withhold such information so as to what? Set a higher price, right? And this will lead to opportunist behavior. And okay, so you can see that as the defects are made known, the market price will fall. Okay, if the car has experienced severe crash before, right, the engine is spoiled, then in that case, okay, the price of the used car will fall. All right, so rational consumers are aware of low quality cars, but they cannot ascertain the quality of the car that they want to buy. So this is important, right? You know that there are lemons, okay, being present in the market of car, but which car is a lemon you can't tell. So what happens if you can't tell which car is a lemon? Okay, then they'll start to offer a lower price, or what we call just now earlier on low balling. Right, so you can see that traces of economics okay, can actually be used to explain low balling behaviors in carousel. Okay, so next time, okay, when you experience this in carousel, you can probably refer back to what Mr. Teo has covered here. All right. So you see the high quality dealers, okay, they are disincentivized to produce high quality cars. Okay, and they will eventually drop out of the market. So you realize that the market will be adversely selected, okay, with or concentrated with lemons, or what we call poor quality cars, okay, and the missing market of high quality cars. So it's a seesaw. You see that when there's an attrition of another one good quality car, okay, there will be an overproduction of poor quality cars. All right, so for the viewers out there, okay, so I don't think this is a difficult question. So things you need to pay attention to, okay, as a start is the keywords they are attached to each of these. How are you going to quickly distinguish between these two forms of market failure, right? Okay, and using the correct examples. Very important to use examples here. Okay, so great. Okay, thanks for sharing. Now I'm going to move on to the second question. The second question is a related question. Okay, so in the second-hand car market, car dealers often offer a 1-year warranty on purchase of second-hand cars. So discuss whether such a mean is the most effective way to reduce adverse selection in the second car market. Right, so okay, just now as I was scrolling your scripts, okay, I realized that most of you actually brought in some alternatives, right? So very important, okay, because the keyword here, most effective way, okay, it does suggest that you need an alternative, at least one or two. Okay, I'll put it two, okay, so check your script. Okay, do you have an alternative other than warranty? Okay, great. So this question is specifically testing on adverse selection. Okay, so please don't bring in policies under moral hazard because it won't work here. Okay, so if we were to look at our book, okay, let's look at our book. Okay, page 50. Okay, page 50, chapter 6. Okay, let's split it up. Okay, we are going to look on the left side. Alright, so at the point of publishing this book, okay, I only have 2 points. Okay, but I want you, for the viewers out here, okay, if you have the book, okay, please quickly jot down this USSR. Right, USSR stands for Soviet, right? So obviously I have 2 more for you. Right, so okay, what does U stands for? Okay, and what does R stands for? Please pen this down. Okay, universal coverage. Okay, and regulation. Okay, USSR. So for this case, we don't necessarily need to use the 4. Okay, especially universal coverage. Okay, this is more for healthcare. Okay, so like I've said, okay, if you don't know what I'm saying, don't know what I'm referring to, refer to my folder on lesson 17. Okay, and for the viewers out there, I don't know whether I'll put this clip on YouTube as well. If I do, I'll probably insert a card here. Okay, you can click on the card and access the clip directly. Right, so for illustration purpose, okay, we will be using these 3. Okay, signaling, screening, and regulation. And we happen to see that warranties fall under signaling. Right? So, okay, what is the role of signaling here? How does signaling address the adverse selection problem as mentioned earlier on? Okay, maybe you want to take over, Claire?
Signaling.
I saw on your script just now you mentioned signaling, right? Yeah. So do you manage to identify warranty as a form of signaling?
No.
Huh.
I warranty but wrong.
Warranty? Okay. That's too optimistic already, right? Okay, then in that case, okay, what is the alternative that you use? Okay, let's put aside the warranty. Later I'll address the warranty.
No, I actually put signaling and screening, but then I didn't know warranty is about signaling.
Right. Okay, so signaling and screening, they are broad headings. Okay, but the exact policies, okay, can vary differently. Sometimes they don't use warranty, they use a guarantee. A money back guarantee. And sometimes they don't use screening, they use certification. It's the same thing. Okay, so you have to identify the policies correctly, okay, and lump them under the correct family. All right, so seems like I have to take over from now. Okay, so please copy down anything that you deem necessary. Later on, I will spend a little bit more time to illustrate, okay, why is warranty a form of signaling. Okay, so like I've said, okay, this is not a content clip. Okay, it's more for exam purpose. If you want the content side, okay, refer to the card I've attached. And for my students, you can go to the LMS and straight to lesson 17. Okay, J1 folder. So having said that, okay, I will move on to here. Right, so this is the quick outline. Okay, I will use the answer key to address the outline. Okay, so if you want to find out the thought process behind the outline, you can refer to the answer key yourself. Alright, so I just want to quickly address there are cases where sometimes, okay, you need to reintroduce adverse selection. Okay, especially if part A you didn't talk about adverse selection, but part B they introduced this topic. Then in that case you need to reintroduce. But hardly most of the time they are related question. Part A and part B, they are brother and sisters. Okay, so like I've stated, okay, if it is the part A has mentioned anything about adverse selection, you can skip. Right, so you can quickly introduce that second-hand car market. Okay, what are the problems that is associated to that? Okay, asymmetrical information. Okay, and specifically the cars dealers knowing more about the attributes of the car as compared to the buyer, which was mentioned in part A. Okay, so what is a warranty? Okay, warranty refers to a form of signaling, okay, to consumers that guarantees quality. Okay, so I will show in this essay what are the three policies that have, okay, warranty, certification, and regulation. Okay, so this falls under signaling. Okay, this falls under screening. Okay, and this is a regulation. Alright, okay, so if you were to read through the answer, you realize that, okay, the part about warranty is very intuitive to a signal. Why? Okay, you realize that a warranty for a car is a written guarantee. Okay, that the car dealer. Okay, remember to contextualize are important. Okay, so for students who didn't use the car example, you'll be marked down. So the car dealer, okay, will replace or repair a car for free within a specific period. Okay, so this is a form of signaling. Okay, warranties bridge the information gap between the consumers and dealers. Okay, so the warranties actually signal to consumers that the car, okay, is of high quality, okay, that can be trusted. And you want to state the opposite. Okay, inferior goods, on the other hand, are unlikely to be offered a warranty. Why? Okay, because inferior goods are known to break down more often, or inferior cars, agreed? And this will drive up replacement costs for car dealers. So do you think a car dealer, okay, is rational enough to offer a warranty for a wrecked car or a car that is of very poor quality? Don't make sense, right? Okay, therefore this is the subtle mechanism. Okay, when I offer you a promise, okay, it means that my quality is good. Okay, and when consumers are reasonably assured, okay, of this written promise of this quality, or the subtle meaning behind the written guarantee, which is implying that it's good quality, right? So they are less inclined to lowball, okay, don't use the word, okay, but they're less inclined to offer a lower price. So they will maintain the market price for high quality cars. Okay, and you want to rewind what happened earlier on. Remember earlier on, because of all the excessive lowballing, okay, don't use that word again, okay, but offering of lower prices, okay, this caused an attrition of the high quality producers, right? So now, okay, if you were to put a stop to that, then high quality car dealers are incentivized to remain in the market. So far so good. Okay, and there will be, okay, the missing market won't happen, or there will be a socially optimal level of high quality cars in the market. Okay, and important to always wrap up with a limitation. Okay, what is a limitation of a warranty? Okay, so there's a lot. Okay, so okay, I'm not going to scrutinize a lot on your limitation, like I've said. Okay, the more important point is to identify and relate this to a signaling. Okay, so let's quickly run through a limitation. A warranty provides services or repairs for free within a certain time period. Okay, this may drive up the overall cost of the car dealers. Okay, so no matter is it good car or bad car, okay, so if it is wear and tear, then okay, if you offer a warranty that probably if it's probably too long, then it might work against your advantage, right? Because it'll be unprofitable. Okay, so this is going to drive up your overall cost. Nonetheless, but if you put up the promise, okay, be prepared that people is going to come back, okay, to tap on your promise. Alright, I'm going to move on. Okay, so if there's any questions, please type it out. If not, you can stay back and ask me later. So the next part is certification, or what I call screening. Okay, so certification is a form of screening. Okay, so this is a form of proof that a car is reliable and has met certain servicing standards. Okay, so you can see that for pre-owned cars, before they are sold to the consumer, okay, they need to have a specific report. Okay, and the report, okay, is like a checklist. Okay, the checklist will ascertain that the steering wheel is functioning, the gearbox is functioning, no leakage in the engine. And who certifies them? Okay, it's normally an independent party. Okay, not the car dealer's own workshop. If not, they can rub out, can do anything, right? Okay, but most importantly is must maintain neutrality. Alright, okay, so all the checklists, okay, once they are met, okay, then the consumers will have greater assurance that, oh, okay, since all the tests are passed already, then this is more likely, okay, this used car is more likely to be able to survive for the next few years. Right, so just rewind what we have mentioned earlier on. Remember earlier on, okay, because of unequal information, okay, or rather lopsided information, okay, consumers are skeptical, right? So with all this written proof, with a promise, okay, consumers are going to be less skeptical, okay, and they will offer a higher price for second-hand cars with certificates that are presented as the minimum standards have been met. Alright, so rewind everything, you realize that, okay, this will start to attract high quality car dealers. Okay, high quality car dealers are less likely to be discouraged and will not drop out of the market. Okay, this will encourage the production of high quality second-hand cars. So far so good. Quite straightforward, huh? Okay, so certification. Let's go through a limitation of certification. You can see that some of the not all certs are the same, right? Okay, A-level cert and the IB cert, they are not the same, right? Okay, so whichever cert that you have for a car cert, okay, make sure you scrutinize who issues the cert, right? If it's by ABC car inspection firm rather than, okay, VCOM. VCOM is a very popular car servicing company or car inspection company. Then you want to be concerned whether the car dealer has some hanky-panky deals with this third-party car certification company. You don't know, right? Because it's quite common, but not in Singapore. Alright. Okay, so for the viewers out there, we are done with the two S's. Okay, so signaling and screening, they are the bread and butter for all adverse selection cases. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the R side. The R side is the most important actually. Signaling and screening, okay, they aim to level the information. Okay, but for regulation, okay, this is slightly different. Okay, this is where the government comes in to regulate. Oh yes, one more thing. Okay, I've encountered questions where sometimes, okay, it's not car industry, okay, but they will use government policies. So if they mandate you to use government policies to address adverse selection, then signaling and screening doesn't work. Okay, because signaling and screening, they are private market solutions. Okay, so I hope these kind of questions don't really come out. But if they do, okay, you got to distinguish between public policies and private policies. Okay, private policies are policies that are offered by firms themselves, okay, in order to address the unequal information. Okay, so this is a government policy. It's quite safe. Okay, most of the time you can use. Alright, so if you forget everything I've mentioned earlier on, remember Lemon Law. Lemon Law is exceptionally powerful, okay, to address adverse selection. Have your school teachers used Lemon Law to address examples?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so shouldn't be new. Okay, if it is new to you this time round, okay, make sure it's not new to you when it comes out for exam. Right. So what does a Lemon Law do? Okay, it is a law that regulates the producers. Okay, it forces producers to replace defective car. Okay, and the car dealers cannot resell defective cars until they made the needed repair. Okay, so who implements or who regulates? Important, okay, please don't be lazy and type CASE. Okay, have the decency to spell it out in full. Alright, so in Singapore, okay, we have a body that regulate that implements Lemon Law. They are called the Consumers Associate of Singapore. Alright, so they will use laws to prohibit fraudulent misrepresentation, okay, in the sales of defective second-hand car, or set a minimum safety standard for a second-hand car. Right, so if you have been complained, okay, you may be put under this watch list of consumer knowledge, and eventually you may be forced to wind down, okay, if you get too much complaint. Right, so if you don't believe, right after we end this call, okay, just go to their website, okay, CASE. Okay, you can see that there is a watch list. Okay, the watch list, okay, they will have A to Z. Okay, Ace Your Econs is not there, obviously, but A to Z, okay, of firms that are under they're under watch list, or high risk firms that are prone to complaints, okay, consumer complaints. Then when you deal with them, you got to be extra careful. Okay, so when you have a regulating body like this, okay, this actually raises consumer confidence, okay, and they know that cars purchased are unlikely to be lemon. If it is lemon, the producers have to replace, right? Okay, so you can have reasonable assurance that the level of high quality cars can go back to the allocative efficient level. Then there won't be a missing market for high quality cars. So it's always going back, right, about addressing, okay, the attrition of high quality cars, okay, and the overproduction of low quality cars. Okay, talk about this too. All right, but you realize that case, okay, it's not foolproof. Okay, because there is a long drawn process. Okay, so if the consumer is not happy with the producer, for instance, okay, they can bring the producer to what we call a small tribunal court. Okay, but okay, they have to go through a legal process. Okay, and okay, you can see that all this arbitration. Okay, arbitration means that they are trying to settle for a middle point. Okay, legal costs may be prohibitively high for both consumers and car dealers. Okay, before the law is properly enacted. So having a law is good. Okay, but how functional the law is, we don't know. Right, but for Singapore, it's quite straightforward. Okay, they are actually protecting consumers a lot more. Okay, the consumer protectionism here is very strong. All right, I'm going to wrap up with a synthesis, okay, on overall, okay, whether a warranty is good enough. Okay, I'm going to show you a few ways to talk about. Okay, so you can compare between policies. So what do I mean by a comparison? Okay, you can see that overall, depending on the cost structure, okay, providing a warranty may not be the best as compared to offering a cert. Right? Once you send the car for screening, you met a certain criteria. Okay, the producer is no longer liable of, okay, repairing any defects. okay, as compared to offering a warranty, right? Okay, so if you offer a warranty, this may drive up your production cost, okay, unnecessarily high, especially when good cars are also susceptible to wear and tear. You know, some of the drivers, when they buy a car, they will work the car like a horse, right? They will and no matter how good the car is, okay, if you drive excessively, it's going to be susceptible to wear and tear. So these are the cases where warranty will kick in, okay, but it's not the ideal case of a warranty. Okay, another issue that you want to consider, okay, whether warranty is the best problem to address adverse selection, okay, is to examine the suddenly I can't recall assumption of the question. So the assumption of the question tells us that there is adverse selection only, right? What happens when we relax this assumption? Okay, do you think a used car market or the car market, okay, is likely only to be plagued with adverse selection? Could there be other problems that are present as well? So an example would be this. You can see that moral hazard, okay, could be also present. For instance, if I buy a second-hand car, right, I know that I am properly insured. I buy a second-hand Ferrari. Same one, right? Okay, first-hand or second-hand Ferrari doesn't matter. You step on the accelerator, it can bring you to heaven. Then you just step. And what happens? Okay, you're going to incur excessive speeding. And once the car crash, then okay, the car dealer will have to take care of the car wreckage, or the insurer. So in that case, this is moral hazard. Okay, so warranty cannot help. Okay, warranty is more for signaling. Okay, so it depends on what is the nature of the problem. So most of the time, one industry will have several problems being present, not only one. Okay, so this is what we call relaxing the assumption and taking a broader perspective. What are the other problems that may be present? Then in that case, you realize that, okay, if there are other problems, then we need to start to introduce what? Co-payment. Okay, co-payment is very widely used for moral hazard. Okay, if you crash the car, okay, you will pay for part of the reparation, repairing bills. All right. So if you are caught for speeding, then we'll not repair, because there's a speedometer, right? Okay, we can actually examine what's the cause of the car crash. So these are some of the examples of moral hazard policies that you can consider. Okay, where warranty itself, okay, is lacking because it doesn't address the root problem. All right, so you may want to bold this or want to pen this down, depending on what is the nature of the problem. Alright, okay, so I'm going to quickly wrap up. For part A, I won't be covering principal agent problem as mentioned, or supply induced demand. This is only covered in VJC. Alright, so some of the past students, they brought in nationalization of car firms. And I think that this is a good point that you guys want to think about. Nationalization of car firms. to avoid adverse selection. Okay, but anyway, okay, I'm pretty much done. All right, so if you have any questions for me, okay, please pen it down in the comment segment. Okay, for my live viewers, if you have questions, you can stay back and ask. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.